Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of flipping 5 mil into 1 bill. So in this episode, we're starting off with 77.185 million. We've gone so far since we've started these episodes, and I really want to speed it up soon because once you get into the 150 million mark, you will start making loads more money than what we are doing at the moment, because the items you can flip then are huge amounts of items, compared to at the moment where we're stuck with a few items, but eventually we will get up to the higher items. So as always, I take on your guys' suggestions on the items that I should be flipping, and it was suggested on my last video that I flip the keystones. And I really thought that was a really good idea, and those are the keystones from the Ascension dungeon. There are 6 different keys: the Primus, the Quartus, the Quintus, the Secundus, the Sextus, and the Tertius. I kind of said all those wrong, but you kind of get the idea. And one of the best ways to find the prices for these items is to buy one instantly and to sell one instantly. So for example, just a few seconds ago I instantly bought the Primus key for 615k, slightly above it. And it instantly sold for 608k. That's a difference of about 7,000, which means that we're looking at about 7,000 profit per key we flip. And as you can flip 100 of each of these keys, so in total 600 of these keys you can flip, but not all of the same kind, 100 of each. That means we can make on these 100 keys 700,000 profit because we have a 7,000 margin, but that's what we hope for. Keep in mind though that we will only ever do the instantly buy and the instantly sell to get the prices if the item is above, I'd personally say, above 10 per every 4 hours. So if you can buy 10 of these items every 4 hours, then you might want to think about instantly buying it and instantly selling it to get the prices. That's sometimes one of the easiest ways. But of course, it doesn't make sense to instantly buy and instantly sell an item that you can only buy one every 4 hours, because then you've tested it out, but then you can't do anything with the margins. And one of the biggest pains of this whole key thing is that they are constantly being flipped. Because it's obviously you can flip 100 every 4 hours of each, there's constantly competition with this item, and that's one of the biggest hardships of this whole thing with the keys, because there's constantly people instantly buying, instantly selling, and it's really hard to know if someone has overcut you or undercut you, or if there's just a guy dumping the keys he's not used, and then you end up with like 100 keys and you just can't sell them because he's still dumping the ones he just hasn't used yet to get the signets for the Ascension crossbows. One of the best things about this item though is that you can tell when you've been overcut and you've been undercut, because the people that are selling this item is pretty much everyone inside the dungeons away from keyboard obtaining the keys. Those are the people that are selling, and they're constantly being sold. Directly people have about 5 or 6. They usually go to the Grand Exchange and sell them unless they're making like some kind of tab or something. But besides that, usually if you have about 5 or 6 keys, people go straight away to the Grand Exchange and sell them for cash. Or it's sometimes people who have obtained the signet and have a leftover chunk of about 10 to 20 and they just instantly sell them. So because of that, you constantly know if someone has overcut you when they're buying, because if they don't buy for about 5 minutes, the chances are that someone has overcut you and they're buying higher than you, and you're pretty much screwed for about 30-40 minutes until they completely flip. Or if someone goes above them and then there's like a constant pyramid up until there's no margin. So sometimes if you've been overcut, just move on. That's what I've decided with the keystones. If I get overcut, I just personally just move on for now. But you can always just go back to the item and carry on with the items you haven't flipped. So if you flip 20, you can just wait an hour, then go back and flip the other 80. It's really up to you. But it just doesn't mean that because you've been overcut, you just got to leave it for a day. You can actually go back to it and do the rest in about an hour's time. That's why I usually decide to do. But when it comes to selling an item, it's about the same sort of idea. The people who are buying these items are usually people just going for signets. You never get really people buying 1 or 2 keys to just test it out. Usually it's people who are completely going for the whole crossbow. So you end up selling huge chunks at the same time. When I was flipping this, I noticed that if I sold about 10 plus, it means that someone was buying for a signet. If I was selling 1 at a time, it means that someone is testing out the margin to also flip that, to flip that keystone. So that was an easy way of me finding out if I'm about to be overcut or if someone else is trying to see how much margin you can get from these items. And if I'm honest, most of the time, the margins were about 5 to 10k, which means that if you flip 100, you're looking at about 500,000 profit to about 1 million. And when we look at that, it doesn't seem like much profit at all with the hard work going into it. But this is definitely a good item if you're looking for something different and also something fast. I only spent about 10 to 15 minutes on the keystones and I walked away with about 800 to maybe 900,000 profit. So it was definitely quite good for the 10 to 15 minutes work I spent on it. And today I only spent about an hour and a half or so actually on flipping. So besides that, I was doing a bit of fire making, but in total about an hour and a half of flipping, so it wasn't that bad at all. So after about 15 minutes of flipping the keystones, I decided that, enough was enough because I'm trying so hard to make 500k here and there, but I can easily make that much money flipping easier items to do. So I decided to move on into dry gauze, which was also suggested on my channel. But on occasions, and it happens to everyone, my dry gauze didn't buy. So I decided that I'll move on and I'll never touch dry gauze again. And hold on, I'll never touch dry gauze again until I hit about 150 million. Because I only ever get luck with dry gauze when I'm flipping all 6. Because all 6 usually follow the same general pattern. If one buys for a certain price, you usually know what the other prices are. So I've decided that I'm only going to flip dry gauze when I have enough for all 6 dry gauze. So that's all 3 offhands and all 3 main hands. And if you work it out, it's about 180 million or so at the moment. But hopefully by the time I reach 150 million or so, they have dropped a little bit. They have risen this week, which is really good for many people. But I decided that I'm going to wait until they go down to a decent price. And then I also have about 150 million, which is going to be in about 3 or 4 episodes, or maybe even up to 5 episodes now. That's what I'm hoping for. Then I have 150 million. So I decided to flip dry gauze, but it just didn't work out. But usually though, with dry gauze, you can make a decent 500, 600k profit on the main hand and about 300, 400 on the offhand. It has recently completely been shattered, the market, for some reason. I guess there's too many flippers, but you can't really say no to flippers because you're just right there. The Grand Exchange is available to everyone. So it's just really hard not to say no to anyone to do flipping. And it's really good money if you know what you're doing. So, why not? So after my keystones and then my dry gauze, I decided to move on into the God Wars dungeon items because I just have so much luck with these items. And these are actually the items I suggest to everyone to flip. Back in before I even made these episodes, these were the items I suggested to everyone to flip from about 20 to about 150 million. I would have suggested for the fastest amount of cash, actually stick with these items and not do any other items, but stick with the God Wars dungeon items for the best profit per hour. I usually manage to do about 5 to 6 million profit per hour on these God Wars dungeon items, and that's why they're so good. But obviously the biggest pain is that since I've suggested that about a year ago, since then there's been a lot more flippers coming into the game, a lot more people getting God Wars dungeon items, which means that the prices have eventually dropped, which means the margins have dropped. So before I could easily make about 10 to 15 million per hour on these items, now it's gone down to about 5 or 6 million. But at the same time, there's now more items to flip because there's a tradable Death Floaters, Tetsu, Sea Singers, because those items can sometimes be really good profit. So to wrap up this whole episode for flipping today, I ended up doing the rest of the God Wars dungeon items and moving on into the Tetsu, the Death Floaters, and the Sea Singers. I managed to flip the majority, or I'd say about 80% of all the items available to me in the God Wars dungeon and also in the port armors. There's a few items I obviously didn't buy, so I gave up after about 10 minutes because every single Grand Exchange slot is very important. So you got to be pretty decisive when you say, okay, enough is enough. I've wasted enough time with an item, and then you move on. So that's what I decided to do today. A lot of time was wasted with the keystones, but because you guys suggested it could sometimes be really good profit. There was a few items suggested to me about 2 weeks ago. I made an episode about it, and I made really good profit. If you guys want to suggest an item to be in one of these episodes, don't forget to do that down below in the description. You can suggest any items you want, from well, not crazy items, because some people suggested needles last episode, and I obviously didn't do that. But just suggest whatever items you want to do. Someone suggested third age items, and I did do that in one of the episodes just to try it out. It didn't go so well, but I still tried it out, which was the most important bit, because sometimes if you don't try out new items, you just never know how much profit you can make elsewhere. But suggest your items down below, and I'd love to take them on hand. So I started off with 77.185 million. I did about an hour and a half worth of flipping. I flipped keystones, I attempted to flip Drygores, and did Gold Wars dungeon items, and also port items, tradable ones, and I ended up with making slightly under 7 million profit. So that's not that bad at all for the amount of cash you have, and pretty much the amount of time spent on it, and also things you can do elsewhere. But I managed to make about 7 million profit in just an hour and a half, which is really, really good. I really want to show you guys a flipping routine. So you keep an eye out for a video coming out soon talking about flipping routine on how to make 5, 10, 15, even up to 50 million per day. And it's going to be entitled Flipping Routine. So you will be able to see that in the next couple of weeks. So definitely keep an eye out for that. It will definitely help so many of you guys to make so much more money each day with flipping. And I'm definitely going to talk about it. So keep an eye out for that video. It's going to be really good. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, please just post them below. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, and also subscribe if you haven't done so, and also just share the video around to other friends that might find this very handy. You can find the other episodes in the description below also, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another video. Peace out.